These 12 feminine traits instantly turn men off. I'm gonna warn you right now, you're gonna hate me after this video, like someone coming to your house and putting their shoes on your couch hate, because I'm about to say some things that are so real and so honest about how us men think that you're gonna feel like I'm attacking you. Simply because it's so difficult to explain how something that is good turns very bad when overdone. I lied to you, you're gonna hate me as much as putting shoes on your dinner table. Let's begin with mothering. We're gonna start with an exercise. I want you to close your eyes and tell me what emotions come up when I describe to you this scenario. Your mom asked you to cook dinner for the family, and as you're preparing the meal, she's standing in the corner of the kitchen just watching. You go to pick out the onions from the fridge and she hovers over you and says, "Are you sure you want to use onions for this recipe? I think garlic would be much better." You go to dice up the vegetables and your mom says, "If you dice up those vegetables too big, it's gonna ruin the recipe." Every step of the way you can feel her breath on your neck. Every decision you make, you can feel her judging you, thinking you should have made a different decision. And even though she asked you to cook the dinner yourself, she hovers over you the entire time because she wants to help you do it the right way. What emotions do you feel right now? Anxiety, annoyance, aggravation? This is a perfect example of how too much mothering can become a bad thing, because we as men love the nurturing nature that women possess. But sometimes we meet women that are overly eager to be nurturing to the point that it becomes very suffocating. Because for us as men, eventually when someone is holding your hand, trying to help you with everything and do everything for you, it no longer feels like a partnership. It feels like you don't think I'm capable of doing anything myself. So you become the helicopter parent that wraps me in bubble wrap everywhere we go because you think I'm gonna run into a wall and unalive myself. Then it becomes very difficult to feel like a man around a woman who doesn't have any belief in my ability to do things the right way. And once we feel emasculated just by being in your presence, it immediately ruins our attraction to you completely. Let's look at what a real life example of mothering looks like.
Things I don't do for my husband because I'm his wife, not his mom. Number one, I don't do his laundry. I've been married for 6 years. I used to do his laundry. And in like the first year of marriage, he would get frustrated. My older son does his own laundry. My husband now does his own laundry. I do my laundry and the little one's laundry. I won't do your laundry. Now, if I need some extra clothes to throw in a load, I'll throw his in there with mine. Number two, on that same note, I do not follow behind him and clean up after him. His nightstand has cups and stuff on it. That's his responsibility to get it to the sink. Number three, I do not clean his sink. We have separate bathroom sinks. I won't clean his. I'm not saying that mine is the cleanest in the world. Mine can get gross, but I won't clean his. Again, even if it gets to the point where it's grossing me out, I just don't feel like it's respectful to be like, here, clean up after my mess and clean up after my spit and all my nastiness. Like, no, we both work full-time jobs. Not only do we work full-time jobs, we work for the same freaking company, but I work from home and that's not easier. I have 2 toddlers that I'm raising at home, so I'm being a stay-at-home mom and I work full-time. I don't have time to take on extra responsibility for a grown man.
So how do you avoid being overly mothering? The best way is to simply give men space to make their own decisions and make their own mistakes. It's best to practice this with small decisions that even if he makes the wrong decision, there's not an extreme consequence. For example, if he decides to dice up the vegetables for dinner a little bit different than you would want, it's more important to allow him to go through the process of making the wrong decision, realizing it was the wrong decision, and then correcting himself. And if you're saying to yourself, well, I can't trust him to make the right decisions because he always makes the wrong decision, well, then you shouldn't be in a relationship with that man. Emotional assumptions can be such a turnoff for men that I had to get on the board specifically for this point. Emotional assumptions happen because for you as a woman, you're more in tune to your emotions than most men are generally. You're able to diagnose your issues and your problems and kind of feel what you're feeling and communicate that better than most men. But because you have that skill set, that superpower, you find it very difficult to sit around and wait for men to be able to process their emotions, tell you how they're feeling, especially because a lot of them can be slow in this process. Maybe they don't know how to communicate their feelings. So you kind of want to impress onto them, hey, I already know what you're feeling. I've already diagnosed your problem and I'm very aware of it. So I'm going to explain your problem to you before you've even identified it, right? Here's why this ends up being such a turnoff, and I'm gonna give you a perfect example to show you how this happens. Let's say, for the sake of example, you get no text from a guy. And because you get no text from that guy, you assume, oh, well, he hasn't texted me for a day, so he's ghosted me. And because he's ghosted me, I'm gonna send him a very strongly worded message, very strongly worded. and I'm gonna let him know exactly how I feel about this situation because I've diagnosed exactly what he's done in the process of ghosting me for this past 24 hours, exactly why he's done it, and what it stems from. So I'm gonna let him know what my synopsis is. So you send him a text talking about how, hey, I know you've ghosted me because you're emotionally unavailable, right? And I've been able to sense that you're emotionally unavailable because you're scared of love. You don't really understand what it's like to be in a real relationship, to have real commitment. And because you're so afraid of commitment and you're scared of love, you're now ghosting me as a way of escaping getting too close to someone that you feel like you're going to care about. And so you send him that message thinking like, wow, I'm really telling him. Only for him to text you back, hey, sorry I didn't get to your text. Seeing what you messaged me. Yeah, by the way, it has nothing to do with anything you just said. No emotionally unavailable or being scared of love. I actually just had a work project, and my work project took up a lot of my time and energy today, and it was stressing me out. So I didn't text you because we've only been dating for a couple of weeks, and I didn't want to start bombarding you with all the things that are going on in my life, and I just needed to focus this day on my work project. And this becomes a turnoff because now he's thinking, well, why were you assuming that I'm going through this and I'm emotionally unavailable because I don't text you for one day? And you're telling me that I feel like this and I feel like that and these are my emotions and I've never once communicated that to you? Now it becomes an extreme turnoff because it's like, you're not even patient enough to ask me what's going on with me. You're assuming what's going on with me, and then you're like almost diagnosing me and telling me what's going on with me without even having the proper information. And so this can become very frustrating to men and start to turn them off from the idea of being with you because they're like, well, this is probably not a woman that's going to be patient enough to listen to me, listen to what's important to me, and listen to my emotions as it relates to a particular situation or our relationship. Gossiping isn't something that's exclusive to women because let's be honest, we all love to gossip a little bit. But here's where it becomes a turn off for men. Gossiping about random strangers and coworkers is one thing, but gossiping about girlfriends who are supposedly your best friends becomes a whole different thing. See, a lot of men can't understand the idea of venting. For example, you really hate some things that Stacy does. She can be a real B word. And because you feel like this guy is your new best friend, you tell him all the things that you despise about Stacy. But you're not going to stop being friends with Stacy even though you hate a lot of the things that Stacy does. So every time you hang out with Stacy, you end up gossiping about her and how much you don't like her. This cycle goes on and on. The thing is, even though Stacy might actually be the problem, the fact that you're continuing to go over the same gossip points about Stacy makes it seem like you're always involved in drama. And if the perception of you becomes that drama follows you everywhere you go, then men will just decide, if I want to get away from the drama, then I've got to get away from her. If you find yourself gossiping over and over again about the same person for the same reasons, you might not even realize it, but you're already building the perception that drama follows you everywhere. As much as we all love a good tea time, you don't want to come across as the girl who's always in a situation, especially with your own girlfriends. Feminine flexing is another one of these points that I have to get on the board on because of how much of a turnoff it is. See, feminine flexing works like this. You know when you go on Instagram and you see that one girl that's always posting her man, but not actually her man as in like him. She's posting what that man is doing for her. For example, when she goes on vacation because he paid for an extravagant vacation for her, she's posting the fact that that man took her on an extravagant vacation. When he's doing something that pampers her, when he's buying her a purse, spending money on her, buying her jewelry, she's showing that off on her Instagram profile or whatever social media she chooses to use. Why? Because she is flexing, not for anyone else except for the other woman, to let them know, hey, I am a desirable woman. I'm a baddie, as the kids say. And as a baddie, I get treated differently than you could ever dream of being treated by men. And this is just a friendly reminder that I am so much more valuable and desirable than you watching my story. So I'm flexing on you and all the other women by showing off all of the things that these men are doing for me. Here's why it becomes a real turnoff, because men also are aware of when women are feminine flexing, meaning you don't really actually care about me. You care about what our relationship represents as it relates to how it shows how desirable you are. The perfect example of that is whenever you see girls taking those pictures and those videos and they're leaving their man out of it. You know a man's there. You know a man's present, but they're always conveniently leaving their man's face out of it. Not because they want their relationship to be private, but because they want to show the extravagance of what any man will do for them. Right? And it's not really about that particular partner, because if it was just keeping their relationship private and they really love their partner, they would post the mundane things, like when they're chilling or just together laying down, or something regular that's not as luxurious and extravagant in like a dream world as all of the other stuff that they regularly post. And feminine flexing is something that gets noticed by both the men and the women. The only problem is when the men notice that you're always constantly feminine flexing and your profile is just a whole bunch of flexes of all these things that men are doing for you, taking you on luxurious vacations, buying you jewelry, giving you gifts. While you might think to yourself, oh, but isn't that good? Isn't that showing him that I'm a high value woman and this is what I expect? Yeah, but also no. Imagine you go to a guy's profile, right? And you see him, he's got fancy watches, exotic cars, right? Gucci down. Every picture is that one of those three: watch, car, Gucci, house, something along those lines, right? Every single picture. Do you think at a certain point you would believe, oh wow, this is a really high value man, this is a man that I need to be with? Or would you start to believe, oh, this is a really shallow guy, probably not someone that I would really get along with, and even if I did try to date this person, it probably wouldn't last long because they have probably a very toxic and annoying personality, right? It's the same thing for the men. When we see all of this feminine flexing, it becomes overwhelming, and it actually has the opposite effect of making you look like a high value woman. It starts to make you look like the type of woman where she probably only cares about money. She probably only cares about flexing, and she's less likely to care about me, to care about the quality of our relationship, and to care about whether our relationship is even going well or not. This next feminine trait will really hit home with some of you when I give you this example. Have you ever not seen your mom for an extended period of time and you begin missing her? So leading up to the next time you're gonna see her, you're in a good mood and you're happy to see your mom again. Then as soon as you see her again, the smile on your face is immediately wiped away, because the next words out of her mouth after she says hello are the 85 million different things that you haven't done, are late on doing, and how many things about your life she needs to remind you are going wrong. And then you think to yourself, oh yeah, that's why every time I'm around you, I literally start itching and sweating because you give me so much anxiety. This happens because your mom doesn't say it in a way that helps you get it done. She says it in a way that makes you panic about it. And this is exactly what can happen in a relationship with you and a guy, where you become like his reminders app. Did you remember to put ointment on your foot? Did you remember that I'm free on Saturday and I won't be able to take work off for the next 2 weeks because my coworkers were taking a vacation, so we should probably go out tomorrow on this date? When reminders get overdone about every single little thing, they just become annoying, because a lot of the times men have already decided for themselves what the most important things to them really are. And for the most part, the things that are important to men, they don't need a constant reminder of. Nothing wrong with reminding your man about something truly important every once in a while, but if you find yourself in a situation where you need to remind a man over and over again about the same little things, well, then you're both gonna be turned off, because he's gonna be annoyed by the constant reminders and you're gonna be annoyed because you feel like you're not with a grown man. I hate this next one so much it makes me itchy, because as a woman, you're naturally more in tune with your emotions. You also end up being more in tune with your man's emotions, which there's nothing wrong with that. Here's where things go overboard though. Because you're very in tune with your man's emotions, you're also very aware when there's an energy shift within him. So the moment you realize he's not being his regular, joking, talkative self, you immediately feel like there's something wrong. And because it might be really uncomfortable for you in that moment, you ask him, are you mad at me? And he says no. But sometimes you might have the feminine urge to say, no, I know he's mad at me because he's not kissing me and he's not all over me, joking and laughing like he regularly does. He's definitely mad. I need to ask him over and over again if he's mad. And this is where it can become a major turnoff, because there's a difference between checking in on him to make sure he's good and being insecure about your relationship and worried that if he's mad at you, he might go out and cheat on on you. So you constantly ask him if he's mad at you, not because you actually want to check in on him emotionally, but it's really out of fear. And trust me, men can sense the difference and the fear that you have within you, which is leading you to continuously ask, are you mad at me? Are you mad at me? And the craziest part is, even if we're not actually mad about anything, it starts to become so annoying being consistently asked and bombarded with the same question over and over again that I actually end up being mad and annoyed simply because you keep asking me if I'm mad and annoyed. Don't get me wrong, there'll be some times where your man is holding things in, and prompting him to have a conversation with you can be productive. But there's also a balance to that. And it's important to be able to recognize that just because your man isn't all over you, kissing you, making out with you, laughing out loud, it doesn't mean that he's necessarily upset with you. He could just have other things on his mind or be enjoying the silence. And you have to fight the urge to make the assumption that every time his energy shifts, it's solely because of something you've done or said wrong. Instead, if you notice one of those energy shifts, you can inquire about it without making an assumption that it's about something that you've done. Because truthfully, it could be something totally unrelated to you. Now, reassurance isn't something that's exclusive to women, but let me tell you how it becomes a feminine trait and how it becomes a huge turnoff. Guys make these memes sometimes where they say things like, when your girlfriend asks you if you would still love her if she was a worm. Now, it's kind of funny and joking, but it's not really a joke, because having a really insecure girlfriend that you have to reassure 24/7 is like a shared community amongst men. But it's not attractive for me as a man to feel like every second of every day I need to reassure my girlfriend and let her know that I still think she's pretty, I still love her, I still want to be with her, because if I make a mistake of not doing that for even a couple of minutes, everything's gonna fall apart, she's gonna break down, and she's gonna think I hate her. It's not actually as cute and quirky as you're imagining. In fact, it becomes very difficult for me as a man to still be attracted to you when you ooze out so much insecurity versus a woman who walks and talks with confidence. You want to make sure that in the process of getting reassurance from your man, you also make sure to give yourself reassurance, or practice the art of understanding how to give yourself your own reassurance, because you need to be self-sustainable as a woman, and you can't be relying on the reassurance of your man 24/7 in order to feel good about yourself and in order to have any sort of confidence. This next feminine trait, I'm going to discuss suffocation, but I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but it is a major turnoff. See, let's say you are starting to date a guy, and in the process of you dating him, you start off not being so into him and so interested in him because obviously he's a stranger. Then as time goes on and you begin dating more and seeing him more, you're like, I really like this guy. In fact, I really like this guy. I love hanging out with him. I love spending time with him. He's funny. He's got a lot of the quirks and features that I would want in a man. Then you get really into this guy. And now you go from saying, yeah, I could go without talking to him for a couple of days, to transitioning into, I want to see him and speak to him all the time. This is where it becomes a problem, because you're now going to want to wrap your arms around that man and show him just how much love you have to give. You're such a loving, warm, caring human being, such a nurturing soul. But even that love can become suffocating at times. And you might not realize that in the process of you having all this excitement to see him, to text him all the time, to call him 24/7, literally be in his skin, as the kids say, you can end up becoming very suffocating to the guy that you actually like and want to like you. And this can become extremely unattractive, to the point where guys say, you know what, I even liked her at the beginning when she was a little bit more settled and a little bit more level-headed, but now that she's trying to literally consume me with all of her love and show me how much she can love one person, it's starting to get scary, it's starting to worry me, and it's starting to push me away. I know this is kind of tough to hear, especially when you like someone and you want things to go well and you feel like it's going well and you want to show them how much love you have to give. You gotta give yourself a breather, because as you have a lot of love to give, you don't want that love to become overwhelming to someone and have the opposite effect of becoming suffocating to that same man. Our next feminine trait is about competition. Ooh, this one is gonna hit you where it hurts. See, one thing that you don't want to do is start to make everything as it relates to you and other women a competition. For example, let's say your man goes to work and he has a woman at work that did a great job, and he's telling you about how she did a great job at work, and so he congratulated her in front of the team because she came through in a way that nobody even thought possible. And then your response is, Why are you congratulating her? I've done way better things and way more for you in less time, and you've never congratulated me. You never acknowledged me. Where's my thank you? Where's my appreciation? You see, this becomes an extreme turnoff because it doesn't just happen in that sense. It also happens whenever you feel like your man is acknowledging or seeing or recognizing the presence of another woman. You immediately turn that into a competition with that woman for your man's attention, even when your man is not actually giving her romantic attention, because you're not actually always going to be competing with those other women. And a lot of times you send the wrong signals in feeling like, wow, anytime you acknowledge the presence or existence of another woman, I'm competing for my spot now. Because if you're supposed to be the queen that you want to be perceived as, if you want to get this princess treatment, then you want to make sure you exude that queen energy. And queens don't worry about peasants. Queens don't worry about every little thing that goes on in the kingdom. Why? Because they're a queen. They only tend to queen duties. And there's a lot of things that for her as a queen don't concern her. And you have to have that same approach to your relationship. Not every time that there is a woman on the other side or your man acknowledges the existence of a woman, does that mean that you're competing with her? And you also don't want to give off that impression. Oversharing can become a huge problem. Let me tell you how fast this can go downhill. See, your natural state as a woman is to communicate. You like to communicate with your girlfriends. You like to communicate with people around you, because talking about your emotions and sharing your emotions with people is just something that will come naturally to most women. Nothing wrong with that. But this is the problem. See, when you get into your dating stages and talking stages, there's a build up to how much you share with that person. When you start liking someone and you start building your connection with them, sometimes it can slip away from you how much you should be sharing or not sharing with that person at that stage in your relationship or talking stage, as the kids say. You're too early on in the relationship with that guy that sharing this much about yourself, these much of your emotions and your deep dark secrets and everything that you've been through and all of your traumas is just inappropriate. But sometimes, like when you get really excited about a guy or excited about a relationship, you can have a tendency to just share everything. And oh my gosh, I like you so much, so I just want to give everything to you and I want to give you all my love, and I'm starting to suffocate you now, but it's just not really me trying to suffocate you. It's me trying to show you how much I love you by telling you everything about myself and being so honest and being so open, because that's what we should do and that's what love is about. And I want us to be in true love. I want us to be in a fairy. And once again, very quickly, your persona becomes suffocating and starts to have the opposite effect. You want to make sure that even when you like someone, even when you're getting to know someone, you give yourself time to build up into sharing more about who you are with that person. It's not about not trusting someone or assuming that the worst is within them or they have the worst motives. It's about understanding that relationships and trust are built, and they're not just given at the beginning just because you meet someone from Tinder or from Hinge or from Bumble. Let's also transition into discussing oversharing, but on social media. Have you ever seen that girl that she posts every single little thing that happens in her life? I'm talking about like when she breaks up with her man for one day, she's posting something about it. When she's going through something with her family or her parents, she's posting something about it. You know, without even being friends with her for real, everything that's transpiring in her life throughout the week as it's happening without actually even talking to her directly. This is a perfect example of oversharing on social media. The same way you can get into the habit of feeling like I want to communicate all of my feelings and emotions all the time, 24/7, 100%, all the way. In real life is the same way that that can happen over social media as well. And your social media, your stories, your posts can become like your diary. And even though you feel like, well, I'm just getting these things off my chest, I'm an emotional being and I want to be able to share my emotions, it's my page, I want to say what I want to say, you have to also remember not everyone following you on social media actually really cares about you for real. And when I see that as a man and I'm talking to you or in a relationship with you, I start to feel like, not the type of girl I want to be with or be around. One, it makes it seem like there's a lot of drama drama following you, like we talked about earlier, but it also gives off the impression that you have a lot of emotional instability in your life. And like you're just on a roller coaster 24/7, because one day you're posting about your mom and your issue with her, another day you're posting about your coworker and your issue with her, another day it's your sister, another day it's your brother, and it just gives off the vibe that I am always going through things. I'm always going through ups and downs. Everything is dramatic with me and everything is chaos with me. Nothing particularly wrong with sharing your life on social media, but still be very cognizant of what you share and how much of your personal life you share on your social media. It is not a diary. You, if you have things to get off your chest and people you want to vent to, talk to those people directly who actually care about you and want to help you. This feminine trait is kind of funny. It's overcorrecting. See, sometimes when you know what the right thing to do is, instead of being able to communicate or help someone cultivate the ability to like do that thing correctly, you might have the urge to say, well, I'm just fed up with watching you do it wrong, so I'm gonna correct you and do it the right way. Let me give you a perfect example of that, right? Let's say you want your man to do the dishes and you're kind of like watching him do the dishes and you're seeing to yourself, no, you're not doing those dishes right. That is supposed to get cleaned and then put in the dish rack, but that is supposed to get cleaned a different way and then put in the dishwasher, because then we got to do the cycle of the dishwasher. And you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, these dishes aren't getting cleaned the way that I want these dishes to get cleaned. He's such an idiot. And you're just like hovering over him, like we talked about before, breathing over his neck, to the point where you just shove him to the side and say, you know what? You're not doing this right. You're not cleaning the dishes the way you're supposed to be cleaning them. Supposed to do it like this. Supposed to put these ones in the dish rack. Look, then you do these ones and then you put them in the dishwasher and then you put the cycle on and then this is where it can become an issue, because in everything that you do in the relationship, you're always trying to correct him. And I don't mean correct him in a way where you're just telling him, hey, this is a better way to do this. I mean, like, you end up doing the things for him. And in the relationship, it's just, hey, you're doing it wrong. I'm gonna take over and I'm gonna do it for you. I'm elbowing you out of the way. It's my job. You're a dummy. You're useless. You're irrelevant. Once again, you make the man feel so emasculated. You make him feel so useless. He starts to diminish his own value in his own eyes in the relationship and whenever he's around you, because he knows that you don't believe in his ability to get things done. And when he knows you don't believe in his ability to get things done, he says to himself, well, why do I even bother trying? And it becomes an extreme turnoff for both of you, because he doesn't feel like the man anymore. He feels like such a wimp around you because you're always elbowing him out of the way and doing the things for him because he's always doing it wrong. And you're also upset and very dry and frustrated because you feel like you're with a baby.